Episode 50, Grace is Messy, Part 2.
Welcome to Creative Success. Fueling success with creativity. It's the Creative Success Podcast with Tanner Gers. Designed to build inspiration for life. Delivering the messages and ideas for today.
And I'm Tanner Gers. What can we create together today? In this episode, creators, he is back. Steve Austin, sharing his intimate story, what was on the other side of where we left off, and of course, we get a little bit messy, all so you can step into your creative success.
Hi, everybody. This is Thor Conklin from thorconklin.com. You're listening to the Creative Success Show with your host, Tanner Gers.
Thank you so much, Thor, for that great introduction. Looking forward to getting you on the show here soon. And today's episode, creators, is brought to you by HostGator.com. Isn't it about time that you got online? Since you can get started right now with one-click WordPress installs, drag-and-drop website builders, hook it up on the cloud, and for less than $5 a month, even for a couple more, you can have your own 1-800 number. It is wild over there, I tell ya. Just go to HostGator.com/Tanner and take 40% off your entire hosting package right now. We just need to pick out a domain name and let me know if I can help you with that. And help yourself right now with 40% off your entire hosting package at HostGator.com/Tanner. Oh my God, creators, it has been crazy around here. I was really looking forward to putting up the Motivation Monday episode on Monday for the 50th episode. I was really looking forward to that, but it didn't happen. What is happening, though, is straight awesomeness. I've been building something very special, and I'm very excited about it. I can't say what it is just yet, but soon it will be here. And also, things are moving down the field in my SaaS startup. If you guys don't know, we provide accessible job boards to those big companies out there so peeps like me can apply for jobs. We provide online accessibility audits, and we also optimize websites for accessibility. We audit your site for you, tell you what's wrong and how to fix it. And if you don't want to, we'll fix it for you. We make accessibility easy, my friends. And I've also been meeting a lot of great people lately who are definitely value adders. Really important there, creators. And I'm super pumped because right now it is time for the creator roll call. Here we go. Kent, Washington creators in the house. Vienna, Austria creators. What is going down, Austria? Chelmsford, Massachusetts. Hope I said that right, creators. Laramie, Wyoming. Indianapolis, Indiana creators. Topeka, Kansas creators holding it down. I see you guys over there. Ellenwood, Georgia creators. How about my creators down in Fort Mill, South Carolina? Got the creators up in Van Nuys, California. San Antonio, Texan creators. Fort Washington, Maryland creators. We've got those crazy creators over there in Glendale, Arizona. Wellston, Oklahoma creators. And wrapping it up in the greatest way possible, my South End on Sea, England creators. I want to thank everyone for your compliments on the one and only Steve Austin. It has been nice to hear everybody's feedback on that first episode, and a little pissed off that I left you hanging like that. But I was introduced to Steve by a mutual friend. I was on my way home from a conference in the airport when I first texted him. We connected over the next few weeks, and here he is. In part 2, he still shows up so powerfully for us creators. He's so brave, so honest, and what is so great is that he's just being himself. I hit Steve with the tough questions, but Steve showed up, stepped up, and he lays it all out for Creation Nation. For all the links and the quotes for this episode, as well as the resources on suicide prevention and sexual abuse, come on over to creativesuccessshow.com/50. I highly recommend picking up Steve's brand new book on Amazon and binge on this man over at gracesmessy.com. That's where he's regularly blogging about addiction, suicide prevention, and, of course, how grace is messy from time to time. Again, all over on the complete show notes page at creativesuccessshow.com/50. 50 creators. Woo woo! So exciting. So, without any further ado, Grace is Messy, Part 2.
My legs, they were waiting to see if my liver was going to fail.
Well, hold on one second. Before we get to that, so you're married. How long have you been married at 28?
At 28, this was 2012, so I'd been married 5 years.
Wow. And do you have kids at this time?
Yeah, my little boy was going to turn a year old the next day.
Holy cow. Okay, so you're in the hotel room. You've made the decision to go ahead and go through with this. And what happened?
So, I drove from pharmacy to pharmacy in Huntsville, Alabama, buying over-the-counter medication. I had prescription medication because I at least was smart enough to be on anxiety meds. I'd had anxiety and panic attacks for a few years before that. So I had prescription medications, and I bought bottles and bottles of over-the-counter meds. But I went from drugstore to drugstore because I didn't want anybody to have an idea of what I was doing. I thought that I must have just had, I'm going to kill myself written across my forehead. And so I went from this, I went to one store and bought, a bottle, and went to another store and bought a bottle, and went to another store and bought a bottle, and finally came back and had tens of thousands of milligrams of over-the-counter drugs and prescription meds, and said, this is it. And I first tried to hang myself in the hotel bathroom.
Oh my God.
And the shower rod broke. Still have some lower back issues from that. I fell and hit my back on the edge of the tub. So I'm mad at that point, and I said, okay, well, this is it. I know that obviously these are enough drugs to do the trick. And so crushed up thousands and thousands of milligrams of meds and drank it down with a bunch of hot tea. And that was it. I had written letters to the most important people to me and told them what a failure I was, and told them all my secrets, and said, I'm sorry, I'm out of here. And woke up almost 24 hours later in ICU.
Did the hotel staff find you? Is that how you got to the hospital?
So a client got worried. This was the last day of this job that I was working. A client got concerned when I didn't show up and started making phone calls. And they eventually got in touch with my wife, who could not get in touch with me, who had no idea where I was. And from there, the agency I was contracting with contacted the hotel, and hotel staff came in with the police and found my body. Said it looked like a murder scene. I had thrown up the wall, all over the bed, and Benadryl, is going to turn that pink red color, and so you got that mixed with all these other meds, and,
right?
And so it was a murder scene.
Wow. Now, I can imagine there's a huge amount of emotion going on. There's your wife, there's your parents. It's clear that word spreads fast in Birmingham, Alabama. What happened next? I mean, tell us about stepping out of the hospital. Tell us about people coming to visit you, if they did. Tell us about everything that led up to you going into the psych ward. Those assumptions that you had would be so accurate in probably 9 out of 10 stories, but they weren't true in mine. Word does typically
travel extremely fast in suburban Birmingham, Alabama. But I think there were about 6 people that knew about my attempt for the first year.
Wow.
Yeah. My parents did not come to the hospital. My dad said that gas was too expensive.
Holy shit.
So I woke up in a fog. There's my wife. My wife's best friend are there in the ICU room, and I am pissed as hell, Tanner. I am already feeling like a failure and a freak, and now I can't even get a suicide attempt right. And I couldn't believe it. I thought I've got to be in some kind of like time, space, somewhere hanging between life and death. I can't actually be here. There's no way that I should be alive. And my wife, I think in trying to cope with this whole thing, somehow she wanted to believe that I'd got my meds mixed up. And I said, no, I tried to kill myself. I don't want to be here. And I think it's the first time I ever screamed at her. We had that marriage that from the outside looked perfect. We had that Facebook relationship, and we put our best pictures and our favorite memories and all those things on Facebook, and that's what our life looked like. I remember when I finally started telling my story a year later, people said, we had no idea. You had the perfect marriage, the perfect life. And I said, oh, if you only knew. If you only knew. So once I regained feeling in my legs, they decided my liver wasn't going to fail. They sent me to the psych ward, which honestly felt like the biggest waste of time ever. We're there and we're taking naps. We're eating 3 meals a day. We're taking a snack. We're doing arts and crafts. We're cutting words out of magazines and gluing it on construction paper. I'm like, what the hell? I just tried to die here, people. What are we doing? And it took me probably 3 years before it finally hit me that in the psych ward, a few of the things they were teaching us there. Number one was to slow down, to take a nap, to eat right, to practice self-care. That was huge. I had never even heard the phrase self-care, much less known what that looked like. And I'm supposed to be a pastor. I'm supposed to be shepherding broken people.
Right.
And I was as broken as, Joe sitting on the back pew. So the psych ward really, it taught me a lot. I just didn't get it for a long time. So from there, man, my wife became the tangible grace of God to me. Everybody told her, pack your bags, leave him. He's crazy. He's washed up. He's lost it. He's a liar. Her in-laws, we haven't spoken to this day. They have nothing to do with me whatsoever. But she said no. She said, I believe in the man that I married. I believe in the truly good, creative, kind man that I married, and I'm going to stick by you, and we're going to get through this, and we're going to do it together. So she came home, had my little boy's first birthday party as planned, because you only turn one once.
That's right.
And I don't live with regrets, Tanner, but that's probably one of the only regrets I have. I missed my little boy's first birthday party. But you know what? I will rock every other one for the rest of his life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I want to get back to something. I want to point out some nuggets that you were leaving behind for creators, which is that, and I've talked about this with my friends too, is that Facebook is this crazy highlight reel of life. And I have people on that are popping up in my newsfeed that run the gamut, but it's typically this highlight reel where, you celebrate the anniversaries, you celebrate the birthdays, you celebrate the big wins, you celebrate winning the lotto, you celebrate the big promotion at work, you celebrate the new product that you just created, the book that you just published, that your kid just made the honor roll, just got a scholarship, is graduating from college, just landed the job, you just bought a new car, we just bought a new home, we just redecorated, we just got back from vacation, we just. Yep. And it's clear that always isn't the case. Now, I'm sure people listening to this right now have that person or two in their newsfeed who are complaining about things constantly, and I don't know how to turn that off.
It kind of goes one way or the other. Thank God for the unfollow button.
Oh my gosh! But creators, and I think that this is kind of really reflective, Steve, about what was going on over your life, where we have these things that are happening behind the scenes, but when we step into the church, we're singing every solo, right? When we're on stage doing our theater, doing our choir, doing these receptions, these events, and yet behind the scenes, things are a little bit different.
Yeah.
And creators, it's okay that every day isn't an absolute victory. I think that being in the psych ward for Steve, there's opportunities to learn around us all the time. And just because we're slowing things down, just because we're taking time to nurture ourselves, that we're eating right, we're sleeping right, that we are really focused on this moment, and whether that's a moment of victory, a moment of loss, or somewhere in between, it's really important to realize that you've got to take care of you, that every day isn't going to be a victory, and it's not about keeping up with the Joneses. More importantly, it's not about trying to cover up the bad with the good via Facebook or in any circumstance. How has being real, honest, and open, I mean, you're sharing your story on gracesmessy.com. You've got your new book that we're going to talk about here in a moment, but how has this transparency liberated you as an individual and maybe even as a professional?
Yeah, learning to own my story has changed my life. It's changed my family. It has created a platform where I'm connecting with people, from around the world. How cool is the internet to be able to connect with people from around the world? When I shared my story, it's been 3 years ago, this month, September, 3 years ago, when I shared my story for the first time, and it was read over a weekend by like 10,000 people. And for this little small town, Birmingham guy, I'm like, what? What are you talking about? And people started emailing and telling me their story of suffering in silence and suffering alone with anxiety, depression, abuse, OCD, postpartum. I didn't even know what postpartum depression was, and so I had these people saying what Brene Brown talks about, the power of Me Too. People going, oh my gosh, it happened to me too. And so from there, this light bulb went off, and I said, oh my gosh, this is more than just sharing my story one time. Obviously, there are people out there who need to hear it. Thank God for doctors, counselors, psychologists and psychiatrists and pastors and all those things. But there are people out there who won't hear the truth from someone with letters behind their name, but from a guy who just says, hey, I'm a real guy who's walked through hell, and I've come out with a story of hope, with a story of inspiration, and I'm willing to tell it and leave all the piety, all the churchy lingo, all the bullshit, leave all that behind and tell that recovery is possible. And man, people are coming out of the woodwork saying, tell me more. So it has changed my life, being able to connect with people in their brokenness, because I know what that's like.
Love that. It's definitely something that I've heard when people say, Tanner, I don't know how you would come back from something like that. I'm like, well, you're a human being. You can do amazing things. You're pretty powerful. That's right. I'm no different than you. We just make a choice to move on. And I think that's what it gets down to, right, Steve? It's just about making the choice to be open and sharing your journey, sharing your struggles, because there's other people, creators, right now that are on their journey, and they're facing the same stuff that you've already faced, right?
That's right.
Why aren't you helping them?
Yeah.
You know?
When you are able to say, hard days don't last forever, and hard seasons don't define me, and I'm not my failures, oh my gosh, everything starts to change.
I just reviewed Joel Osteen's book, The Power of I Am.
I just listened to that episode today.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah.
I love that book. I read it, creators. I read that book twice, back to back, because it's just so powerful. And one of the reasons that gives it so much gravity is that Joel tells story after story after story to drive his points home. So really love that book. I'll get that linked up in the show notes page in case anybody wants to check it out. But so speaking of books, tell us about your most recent book. It's obviously purpose driven. Behind it, the purpose behind it is exactly what we're talking about right here. Tell us a little bit about your book and what readers can expect from it.
Yeah, it is excuse me. It's my story. It's so much of what we have talked about today and so much more, for in my world, in the church world, because I'm back in the church as a pastor again. I never thought that would be possible, but I am. And in that world especially, we get it so wrong when it comes to mental health. There's such a stigma around being a Christian and having mental health, especially in the more Pentecostal, charismatic circles where if you're sick or something is wrong in your life, it's obviously because of a sin or you don't have enough faith. There's really bad theology out there, and a lot of people buy into it, and they believe that it's their fault. And so, so this book is my way of combating the shame and the stigma of mental illness and putting the emphasis back on self-care. And so it is, the name of the book is From Pastor to a Psych Ward, Recovery from a Suicide Attempt is Possible. And so in it, I give insights to what it's like getting up to that point, and then what it's actually like to recover, practical steps to get toward recovery. So it's perfect for the person who has just survived a suicide attempt, because in surviving a suicide attempt, especially in the immediate, you feel like a failure. And so it's perfect for that person, but it's also perfect for anybody with a myriad of mental health issues who have just never had anyone to talk to, have never been given permission to say, I'm not okay and I need help. That's who my book is for.
Wow. Love it. That is so awesome. So it's basically just you sharing your story and then sharing with the reader, hey, this is how it happened for me and this is how I got through it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We talk about a lot of what we've talked about today. We talk about self-care. We talk about the correlation between the psych ward and the church. In one chapter, one of my favorites, I asked the question, because my favorite story in the Bible is the prodigal son. And so I asked the question in one of the chapters, what if the prodigal son had Xanax? So we talk about some very real, out-of-the-box things. We talk about boundaries. What do you do when you have parents like mine who don't show up when you are literally at the end of your rope and you've tried to kill yourself? What do you do when the person who has the title of mom or dad don't show up for you? My parents didn't show up for me after I was abused, and they sure as hell didn't show up for me after I tried to kill myself. Well, what do you do with that? If you still want to have some sort of a relationship with those people, but you feel like they are toxic, how do you set real boundaries? So, yeah, that's it.
That is absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. There's so many bells in my own personal life ringing right now. It makes me think of, one of the things, creators, that my mom has shared with me and with her parents. And, where she has come to the realization that you cannot have any expectations. You're going to show up and you're going to accept them for who they are, and that's it. No expectations. And it has removed the hugest weight and oppression from my mom's shoulders. It's truly awesome to see her, step into who she is later in life, because, there's definitely some history there and some things holding her back. And, again, creators, it gets back to getting help from someone who's a professional, getting help from someone like Steve, who's been through it and can share with you how to get through it. Steve, where can creators get in touch with you after this conversation?
Absolutely. You can get in touch with me through my blog, which is graceismessy.com. If you go to graceismessy.com, you can find my email, you can find my social media. It's all there. So go to graceismessy.com. I would love to hear from you.
And Steve, we're going to get your book linked up on the show notes page, creators. Thank you so much, Steve, for being so honest, so open, from sharing everything from suicide to pornography to sexual assault. This is how we help others step into their creative success. I appreciate you so much.
Oh, Tanner, it has been my honor. Thank you for allowing me to share my story.
Wowzers, creators. What an amazing man. Yes, we all can be down at times, but Steve is a testament for what is possible for us, what we can do with a second chance. If your friend, family member, or coworker isn't seeming like their normal self, let them know how you feel and how they make you feel. Let them know that you care. And tell them Tanner from the Creative Success Show sent you. Again, all the resources for suicide prevention and sexual abuse are on the complete show notes page at creativesuccessshow.com/50. Steve's book, From Pastor to Psych Ward, and the links to the Grace is Messy blog can be found there as well. Until next time, creators, I am Tanner Gers, your partner in suicide prevention and creative success.